Hey friends, happy Sunday. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor, the stay-at-home wife and mom who shares these What's for Dinner videos every Sunday to hopefully motivate y'all to cook more for your family and to hopefully give you some new meal ideas. I try to share a couple new things every week, but we eat a lot of the same things every week as well. So I try to mix it up to make cooking interesting for myself, but also to make these videos a little bit more interesting for y'all. As always, any recipes that I mention will be linked in the description box down below. Now let's go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. Friday night we had tuna patties. I actually used my husband Andy's grandmother's recipe for salmon patties and just use tuna instead. I've been doing this for years now. I just didn't feel like spending the money on salmon or picking the bones out of salmon. So one day I just decided to try it with tuna and it was delicious. Turns out that that's a thing that other people do as well, but they usually call it like tuna cakes. But yeah. So we had salmon patties with mac and cheese and green beans, and I have shared both the mac and cheese and the salmon patty recipes before, or the tuna patties recipe before. The tuna patties actually has its own video, so I will have that linked down below for y'all. Saturday night we had leftovers for dinner, so we actually had a late lunch for Lily and my father-in-law's birthday at a pizza place at like 3 o'clock. So I planned on cooking an easy dinner, but none of us were hungry at the same time, and we had a lot of leftovers of this garlic Parmesan chicken pasta that I made in the crock pot on Thursday. So we just all ate that at varying times throughout the night, and it's really good. It reheats really well. So yeah, I will leave last week's video linked down below if you missed that recipe because it was in there. Sunday night we had the easy recipe that I was supposed to make on Saturday, and that is KFC Bowls. So I started off by making some mashed potatoes. I just cut up probably about 5 or 6 medium-sized russet potatoes and got those in my Instant Pot with the trivet underneath them, and then I added about a cup of water and some salt over the top. Then I put the lid on, turn it to sealing, and cook these on manual high pressure for 12 minutes. After the 12 minutes, they are nice and tender. I just remove that trivet. You don't have to drain the water that's in these. I mean, you can if you want to, but it's just so minimal. It doesn't really make a difference. So I always leave it in, and then I start mashing them with my masher. And then I don't measure anything. I usually do about half a stick of butter and then just keep adding milk until it gets to the consistency that I want. Sometimes I do milk, sometimes I do heavy cream. And then, of course, some salt and pepper. You can also do garlic powder, which I did. And you just want to season that to taste and keep adding milk until it gets as creamy as you want it to be. So for our bowls, I also heated up a can of corn with some salt, pepper, and butter. And then I made some gravy. This is just a package of brown gravy and a package of chicken gravy. I read somewhere online that that's what the KFC gravy pretty much is. And so if you want to get it close at home, mix together a package of brown and a package of chicken, and it tastes pretty similar. And then I cooked up some of these Tyson crispy chicken tenders. These are really, really good. I did those in the air fryer and they are so good. So for our bowls, we've got our mashed potatoes with some gravy, some cheddar cheese, some corn, and then those chicken strips cut up. This meal is delicious and really easy to put together. Monday night we just had spaghetti, so I cooked up some spaghetti noodles and cooked up some ground beef, added some marinara sauce, you know, the usual. Topped it with some Parmesan cheese, and then we had some salad on the side, and then just some fresh veggies for Lily because she doesn't like salad. Tuesday night I made a whole air fryer chicken. This has got to be one of my favorite meals, even though I hate dealing with the whole chicken. So these whole chickens actually came from Sam's Club. And I do like the fact that they don't have like the little bag of giblets and stuff inside of it. So you don't have to deal with that if you buy one of these from Sam's Club. These are like the Tyson brand from Sam's Club. So just so you know, don't bother doing all that because you don't need to. But I've got my chicken here. I patted it dry and then I made this little seasoning mixture. For this, I mixed together some olive oil, salt, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, basil, oregano, and thyme. And then I whisk that together, and then I brush it on my chicken. I do the breast side first because I'm going to cook this breast side down in the air fryer, and then flip it over and do breast side up for the last half. So I do this at 360, and for me this takes right at about an hour. So at 30 minutes, I flip it over and do breast side up for another 30 minutes. To go with our chicken, I made some lemon pepper, green beans, and potatoes. And I used 2 cans of green beans and 1 can of potatoes. I had someone ask me what I use the canned potatoes for, and this is one of those recipes. So I did not drain any of the cans, just add them in there with all the liquid in the can. And then I added in a little bit of chicken bouillon, a bunch of lemon pepper, and then some badilla complete as well, and a little bit more pepper, and then about half a stick of butter. And then I turn this on over a medium-high heat and let this come to a boil. And then once it came to a boil, I turned it down to a simmer and just let it simmer until my chicken was done, probably about another 15 minutes. Here's what my chicken looked like when it was done. I used my thermometer to make sure it reached the proper internal temperature, and then I covered this with foil and let it rest for 5 minutes before cutting into it. Here are our plates. I like to cover pretty much all of my food with hot sauce. I got it on my green beans and my potatoes and on my chicken. And then I also made some crescent rolls to go with this. This chicken was super tender, so tender the kids couldn't even have the whole chicken leg because the meat just fell off the bone. It was delicious. Wednesday night we had Tex-Mex chicken and rice. I started by heating my pan over a medium heat and adding in some olive oil, and then once that was hot, I added in a medium onion that I diced up. I just let that start to get tender for a couple of minutes. This recipe comes from my Better Home and Gardens cookbook that I've had since I was 18, and this was one of the first recipes that I ever made from it, so I've been making this recipe for almost 14 years now. So once my onion started to get tender, then I added in 1 box of chicken rice-a-roni. It's the rice and vermicelli. And then you add in the seasoning packet as well. Give it a good stir, make sure it's all combined, and then let that cook for a couple more minutes to kind of brown your rice mixture. Then you add in your liquid. The recipe says 2 cups of water and 1 14-ounce can of chicken broth. I usually do between 2.5 cups to 2 3/4 cups of water with a little bit of the Knorr chicken bouillon. I just add that in and then bring it to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, I reduce the heat to a medium-low and pop a lid on it and let it cook for about 15 minutes. After the 15 minutes, I remove the lid, stir it around, and then turn off the heat. It's not going to be completely cooked at this point, and your liquid isn't going to be fully absorbed, but that is okay because this is going to go into the oven. So now I add in about 2 cut up tomatoes, my cooked chicken from the day before, canned diced green chili peppers, some basil, some chili powder, some cumin, and some pepper. Get that all stirred around, and then I'm going to transfer this to a baking dish and top with a bunch of cheese. Sometimes I do cheddar, sometimes I do Mexican. This time I did the queso quesadilla cheese. Just get that on there, and then I got this in the oven on 425 for 25 minutes. let this cool for about 5 minutes before serving, and then I just put it in bowls. You could top this with anything you like, but we usually just like it as it is, and then with some tortilla chips to eat it with. And then for leftovers, we like to put it inside of a tortilla and eat it like a burrito. It's really good that way. Thursday night we had barbecue pulled pork sandwiches. So I've got a big hunk of proc in my crock pot. This is a piece of pork loin that I bought at Sam's Club a while ago and had it in my freezer, and it did not thaw completely overnight, so this is still semi-frozen, but I added it to the crock pot and it cooked up fine. To that, I'm adding some of this barbecue 101 seasoning from Trader Joe's. It is a good seasoning. I was kind of harsh on it the last time I used it. It just doesn't have a lot of salt in it, so if you are going to use this on something like potatoes or just like a piece of meat, you're going to want to also add salt. But it added some good flavor to this pork loin for our barbecue pulled pork sandwiches. So I got it coated on all sides with that seasoning, and then I went in with some barbecue sauce as well. I had just a little bit of barbecue sauce left in this bottle from Aldi. The Kansas City one is our favorite. So I added that in, and then I filled the bottle about halfway with water to get out any last bit of barbecue sauce in there. And then I added that to the crock pot as well. And then I just put the lid on this and let it cook on low all day. It was in the crock pot for about 8 hours until we got home from martial arts. And then when we came home, I just took the lid off, used my little meat masher thing to shred up the meat. It was nice and tender. And I didn't add any more barbecue sauce to this. You could if you wanted to, but I prefer just to add more on the individual sandwiches. So that is what we did. I just added some. The kids don't even add any more to theirs. They just add cheese to their sandwich, but I add some extra barbecue sauce, and so does Andy. And I had another bottle of that same Kansas City barbecue sauce. It's, as I said, it's our favorite. We love it, and I always stock up on it when Aldi has it. To go with our barbecue pulled pork sandwiches, we just had some salad for those of us that like salad. And that was it for Thursday's dinner. Super easy and quick to come home to from karate. All I had to do was shred up my meat and throw it on a bun and pull out all the salad stuff. Such a quick dinner, and it was delicious. Pulled pork in the crock pot is always a good meal. But that is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you got any new ideas of things to try, let me know what you're going to try in the comments down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a great week, and I will see y'all on the next one. Bye.